Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We are excited that you are joining us. I'm Dr. Cresslin Fan, and I serve as the K-12 lead for our Economic Mobility Center. And today we have our TSIA 2.0 virtual learning series featuring Principal Jacob Nunez from the amazing Dallas ISD Molina High School. Hello, Principal Nunez. How are you doing today?
I am good. It's an amazing day, roller coaster of a day, literally.
We're going to do a little bit of framing today, just a little bit, and then we're going to jump right into our virtual learning series because I know that you all want to hear from Principal Nunes. So I am not going to belabor this. I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to ask your questions. Today, we're here to learn. We're here to hear from one of our amazing principals in our Dallas County Promise schools. We're here to see how he's mobilizing this work for economic mobility for all of our students to go down this pathway to be future ready and work ready and college ready. So he's been doing some amazing work. All of you are doing amazing work, and we're here to support you and be of service to you. So we have our presentation for you today, which will begin with just a little bit of framework and overview. And then I'm going to move on to allow Principal Munoz to shine and share a little bit of how he does things at Molina High School. So our presentation objectives today, as you can see here on the screen, is we're going to talk a little bit about the case study that's happening at Molina High School. We also actually featured Principal Munez and his campus in a video. And also, I believe the Dallas Morning News picked up the story and he was featured there as well. So we're excited about the things to come in Dallas ISD and our other 2.0 campuses and school districts with Garland ISD and Grand Prairie and DeSoto and many others that are joining us here from our other districts that we support. Really excited about that. We're going to also have a roadmap on post-secondary readiness and then talk a little bit about our TSI indicators for college readiness. So without further ado, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the case study. So we've been activating this evidence-based practices, really trying to figure out how do we get economic movement within our Dallas County schools. And as you can see here, with our historically campuses, we've been trailing other urban counties in the state of Texas in TSI readiness. We're really trying to reach this percentage of students that are going to be met. For the class of 2024, we were looking at 59% met. And that was about 453 seniors at Molina High School. And so if you look at their campus, 87% economically disadvantaged, 34% emergent bilingual, 7% SPED. But all of that totaled up to about 59% TSI met by assessment. That's key there for the class of 2024. So the case study continues on to take a look at their math success and English success, and then overall combine together what that looks like. I'll give you a few seconds to just kind of take a look at this slide that's here. And Principal Nunez, if you are ready, I am going to turn things over to you.
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Ready.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to shed a little light on what we do here at Molina High School. But before we kick off this presentation, we're going to start with a quote. This quote is really the foundation of everything that I do and what drives me. It's by Fisher and Frey, and it says that every student deserves an amazing teacher, not by chance, but by design. So I want you to remember that because we're going to focus back on that at key points. But this quote is really what drives what we do here at Molina High School. So the agenda, I created a quick little agenda for you guys so you can look. We're going to talk about the mission and vision. What is TSIA? Because some of you, I'm sure all of you know what it is, but when I talk about this, I also look at it like I'm speaking to my parents or my students, because they need to know the why it's important for them to pass that. And then we're going to talk about Before we can go forward, we got to know where we've been. So we're going to talk a little bit about our historical data here at Molina High School, and then we're going to talk about the strategic planning process of what we did to make sure that we were successful at Molina High School, and then the progress monitoring, and then the data that we currently have and what we're talking about right now, and the follow-up steps to make sure that we were successful. And this was actually the graduating class that walked this year, so I was really proud of them. So the mission and vision is key in everything. The vision is to be the best, to be the premier school. But the real work that we do at Molina High School is in the mission, and that's to create access and opportunity so that when students leave Molina High School, they're career ready and college strong. When I say career ready, I don't want them just to say, "Oh, I'm going to do this." I want them to walk out of Molina High School with an industry-based certification. And at the end of the day, we had students going to college, but they're not finishing and living and being around the students in the community where I work. I know the biggest challenge for them was taking remedial and taking classes that weren't sustainable for them. So College Strong is we don't want to just get them there. We want them to finish. And the big key component of that is the power of communication. So you want to make sure that we're communicating those things. Thank you. TSIA 2.0. What is it? When I speak to my parents, I always tell them it's a readiness test that measures their mastery if they're ready to take college level coursework. And most of my parents, surprisingly, in our community have no idea what this is. So we want to make sure that we're placing the parents with the right information so that they can also help their students be successful in making these decisions, whether they want to do an industry-based certification or they want to go the route with TSIA and take college level courses. Thank you. So if you look at the data here, we had a lot of missed opportunities at Molina High School. I'll take a minute so you guys can kind of look at it. I don't know if you need glasses to see this, or can you guys see it? We had a lot of missed opportunities here. So we weren't really utilizing the college prep portion of it. And if you can see right there where we were meeting it both in ELA and math, that's the 81. Those 81 students, the majority of them were coming from our college BTech. And those students were already on track to get an associate's degree. So what we were doing is we were leaving our other comprehensive students, which to me is low-hanging fruit because those students are more than capable of taking college level courses, but we weren't really strategically focusing on their success. So to me, those were missed opportunities prior to me coming to Molina High School. Next slide. The strategic planning is really where the work took place. It's distributive leadership because, you know, as the principal, I set the tone and the narrative, but I can't do all the work by myself. But I have to, what I always tell my staff, sorry, the bell's ringing. We're in real time here at high school right now. So you can't do it all yourself. So I have to always inspect what I expect with my team. And it's one team, one dream. We all have to be rowing the same direction, which takes us to my next slide. So when I came to Molina High School, you had a very competent team, but every one of them was rowing in different directions and had an idea of what they thought was success moving forward. So for me, we had people who were, as you can see here, were black and blue and very competent, could do the part, but were not, had the same vision, same mission. So if you look at the second stage that's at the bottom, you see that after that first year, we kind of got everybody going the right direction, but different colors and still kind of going doing their own thing. So after the end of my first year, we really got the team to buy in to what we were doing, and that was across the board from my entire team, for the associate superintendent, the assistant principals, the counselors. A big component was our testing coordinator and having her involved in that, and being very strategic in our teachers and how we brought this out and rolled this out to them. And so when we left at the end of May, we were entering that last stage where you could see we were all the same color and we were all aligned, going the direction that we needed to be in. And it's like, if anybody's ever seen Crew in Ivy League, you know, the coxswain is the guy that sits on the end and yells the encouraging words to the team. So the team is doing the work, but as the principal, I have to make sure that I'm encouraging them and making sure that I'm giving them the tools to make sure they're successful. At the end of the day, I can't ask them to build a house, but I don't give them wood. I don't give them nails. I don't give them a blueprint. So I want to make sure that my team is successful and supported. Next slide. progress monitoring is really huge here. So if you can see right there, we pulled transcripts and we made sure that we were specifically TSI tracking on this. I'm going to have one of my amazing number one right by my side, Miss Course. Could you jump in on here and speak to this real quick? I'd like to introduce Harriet Kors, who also does the work here. It's not one person that does the work. It is a team that does it. And I just feel fortunate and blessed to have an amazing team to help do the work and do the vision. Ms. Kors, were you able to get sound?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. I need you to smile. You got this.
Good morning, everyone. It did not happen overnight. He is correct. And maybe about 2 years ago when Mr. Nunez came, that's when the district pulled us all in and they were like, hey, the game just changed in the middle of the game, right? The rules just changed. So we were so focused on trying to make sure that students were in their correct CTE pathway. I think we did a good job about that. But then when we started talking and collaborating as a team, we're like, wait, college prep, the kids, we have so many, it was about 300 kids that we could look at that were either not met in both or met in one via SAT or some other measure, or they were met in math. So we placed those kids in during the second semester in college prep classes. We moved master schedules around, and we placed them with our English teachers. So, and we continue to place them with English teachers this year, but now our English teachers have adapted to the way that TSI is designed. And those kids that aren't progressing in college prep right now, they're working and PLCing every week, and we're pulling them having, crucial conversations with the students around how important this test is and how it's actually designed. So not by default, but we kind of figured it out. Our kids are used to doing STAR. And so their mindset around essay writing is STAR-based. When in actuality for TSI, is it structured? So we give them 3-4 body paragraphs at minimum 600 words. Are you writing 600 words? Is it grammatically correct? So the other thing that we're implementing as well is on All in Learning, they have an AI system. And so our teachers are working with the students on practicing those essays so that they're prepared. And the other thing with TSI, it's our kids can be overwhelmed with STAR because you get all day to take the test. But with TSI, they give to chunk and chew, which is how teachers normally teach. So we're more intentional this year about the way that we are prepping the kids for TSI. But last year, we had, again, like 300 kids that were either met in one or the other or neither. So the students who were met, our English teachers swapped the kids. So the kids that were met went to this English teacher, continued instruction. The students that weren't met stayed with another teacher. And then those kids were prepped for TSI in those classes.
Thank you, Ms. Kors. If we can move to the next slide. So as she was speaking earlier, we talk about the TSI English changes what we made by design. We specifically moved those teachers to English 4 at the beginning of the year that we knew were going to be our best teachers for our seniors. We made sure we were intentional on that. And those splits happened second semester after the kids had come off Christmas. The ones that were already successful with TSI, we moved those into separate teachers English 4 classes that had already passed. And everyone knows that the second half of senior year, there's no test, and the kids get out early because they graduate early. So we wanted to make sure that we were intentional in how we were making sure our students were entering the second semester. And as you saw on that tracker that we had on what we were doing, we made sure that we knew exactly what every student needed, either if it was by point or if it was a certain area that we needed them to be successful and for them to trigger the point. Next slide. And for the math, we knew that some of the basic concepts that the students were missing were stuff that they had done in 5th and 6th grade, were rational numbers, fractions, whole numbers. And that's stuff that they had seen, but they hadn't used in a long time or talked about. So we made sure those are some of the things that were being incorporated in when we had these reviews with them. I moved a lot of my seasoned Algebra 1 teachers to Algebra 2. I played the long game because at the end of the day, my students coming out of Algebra 2 were taking the ACT or SAT, and I wanted to have them the most seasoned teachers so that they would have an opportunity to pass the ACT or SAT, and it would set them up for success. And then once again, we have every student, we need to know each student by name, and that is a big component of success here. And testing them, coming off their junior year that May, as soon as the school ends, the students that were not successful in TSIA, we made sure we strategically put them in college prep classes so that when they went into those classes their senior year, a lot of our seniors didn't need full loads going into their senior year. So there was early release and other things on the table. But we're going to talk about that in the next slide, next couple slides. So if you look at here, this is one of our original trackers before we had this amazing Salesforce tracker that we have from Commit. This is really what we did is we tracked every student by what they needed, where they were, what pathway they were in, what cohort. And it was about a team of 8 of us that was consistently looking for our kids to make sure that we were intentional and tracking what they did and who they were. Miss Course, can you speak to this in any part? I know this was part of your design, so.
Yes, I know this looks messy, but I revamp it every time I look at a new set of kids. I feel like I'm missing something, but yes, this was the original tracker for Molina High School. Did they meet in math? Where did they meet in ORAMs? Did they meet? Are they sped? How are we coding them? And it was literally every student line by line. And we'd resort it again. Did they trigger a CCMR point? Okay, are they met in both TSI? And so it's this tracker, it's the other tracker. And then in the middle where you see the Texas Bridge dual or AFC first semester, we're even looking at transcripts to see, okay, did they lose credit for the class? Because if they lose credit for the class, they won't get the certification. But those were our little notes to the counselor sometimes, like, hey, they're in the wrong placement. But this was maybe 2 years ago. No, maybe the last year or the year before last. I'm trying to look at the names, but it was easy to track the kids or identify them as they're walking in the building. Hey, I need you. And so everybody's having conversations like, we need to find these 10 kids, and just motivating the kids to do their best. So, but this was the original tracker for us.
Thank you, Ms. Course. So if you look at our data coming off that, if you look here, you can see the proof in the pudding. This was the work of what everyone was doing, and it was paying off. We knew it was paying off when students who were ranked 470, 480 were starting to build agency, and they were passing, and they were like excited about it. At first, a lot of the students were upset because we did take away an elective, we took away office helper, we took away being in athletics, because the focus of them was something that would set them up for success, and we wanted to be intentional. If you remember that quote that we had in the beginning that says that every student deserves an amazing teacher, not by chance, but by design. But this is what you see is by design. The students are here 187 days. We want to make sure that we are intentional with every single day, because if we miss a day or somebody lets off, then that's a day that we don't have with that student, because they're seniors. And once they leave Molina High School, we're not going to get them back. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're successful and helping them be successful. Next slide. So if you look right here, you look at the numbers where our seniors were from 2020 through to 24. If you can see how I wouldn't say it's simple, but just really tracking the students, being intentional where you place them, shows where we're at. We are by assessment 59%. Is the work done? The work is not done. We want every student to be 100%. But they always say, you know, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you land in the stars. But these are our students, so we want to make sure, like the quote says, we're intentional. So we are happy, but the work's not done, and we're excited for what we have moving forward for our students. Next slide. You know, if you walk into Molina High School, you'll see this spray painted on the wall there. It says, "Where will you be in 10 years?" And I also put in a two-way mirror there so that the kids could see themselves. And then they could look up to that. And I want them to think different, because if you go to any school that's not in inner city and you ask a kid, "Hey, what do you want to do with your life?" Most will tell you they want to go to college, or they want to be an attorney, or if they want to start a business. Well, I want that narrative to be the same when you come to Molina High School. I want the kids to walk through here and say, you know what? I can be somebody. I want to be more than what I've been offered. You know, I don't want to be that pipeline to prison. We want to be the standard at Molina High School, not just the statistics. So at the end of May, we made sure that we talked with all of our juniors. And it wasn't just me, it was our testing coordinator. It was Miss Kors. There's super non-negotiables going in there. There were no more early releases, no more late starts, no more planning periods, a loss of a possible elective. And that's something that went that we had to build a culture to build on there. So now, even when the students buy their, you know, when seniors graduate, they get a contract, and in that contract, they get their prom ticket, they get the senior activities, but also we put in there TSI ready, TSI met, because it's not just something that we want them to just say, oh, it doesn't really matter. It's part of the culture, and it's the narrative that we're setting here, is that we set the expectation that, you know, failure is not an option, and we want to make TSI part of the culture. And, you know, students don't suffer whether you really care about them or not. They know if you genuinely care about them. So we wanted to make sure that those were the things that we really echoed to our juniors as they were entering into the senior year. Thank you. Next slide. You know, we have a quote that the students that they hear every morning and every afternoon on the announcements. It's that today we're Molina strong, so let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. And I always tell the students, let's be about it, don't talk about it. I need you to pass. I need you to do something that your 24-year-old self is going to thank your 18-year-old self. So at the end of the day, it's not one person, it's a team of people, and I'm just feel extremely blessed to be able to do the work with them. And I'm just excited, and I'm excited for the community and the kids, because it's an opportunity to have someone that I didn't have. I didn't have a Mr. Nunez growing up, or Miss Course, and to know that they care about, they know that we care about them. Miss Course, oh my goodness, she's like, I need a box of tissue at graduation. The kids really, really dig into her, and it's just amazing to see the relationships. And I just thank you for letting me give you the opportunity to speak to you guys. I hope you enjoy your day.
Thank you, Principal Nunez. Thank you so much for sharing all the wonderful things that are happening at Molina High School. And so we're going to keep this thing open and keep it going. I have a few follow-up questions. If you'll just give me a few more minutes to engage a little bit. I want to make sure that everybody is engaged in the chat. If you have questions specifically that you would like answered, go ahead and post those in the chat, and we'll make sure that we get those asked for you and get some responses for you. But I have a quick question for you, just something that you mentioned. You said that there was a district meeting that was held, and that you needed to make sure that you had the students in the right place, that they were in the correct CTE pathway, that they were taking the college prep course. You said that you spoke to the juniors and you had a junior talk about what this means to them. And you also spoke about getting them to and through. Talk to me a little bit more about what that means to you as a principal, as the leader of your campus, about having your district leaders making sure that this is a top-down approach, that they're sharing a big vision and you're carrying that through.
Sounds great, Dr. Fannin. But before I speak, I gotta let Miss Course speak, because she is amazing. And you know what? A lot of people focus the work on the principal, but you know, I stand on the shoulders of many people here. And as the principal, I set the tone and the vision, but the work is done by the assistant principals and the counselors and the testing coordinator. That's why I have Miss Course here, because she's an amazing person. I'm excited. I know I probably will lose her at some point, but I'm just excited and blessed to have been with her during this time. But I'm going to let her speak for this portion, and then I'm going to follow up really quick.
Okay, big picture. Well, I had to extrapolate a lot of information in order to figure out what we could do with our students so that we are successful here at Molina. The first thing was one of our pathways was off. We were offering a class that we really didn't need, and most of our kids were already sitting there. So that was a huge master schedule change. The counselors could not really understand why or the reasoning behind it, but now everybody's like, I get it, I get it, I get it. So we had to make sure our entrepreneurship pathway was aligned with the state. But then after that, it is literally kid by kid. If we have 492 seniors this school year, I have looked at 492 transcripts repeatedly. Myself, another teacher that we have here in our business pathway, we're looking at transcripts daily, weekly. Our counselor drops the schedule. So we're comparing all of this, like, are our kids constantly in the right place? But just having those motivational conversations with the students were more instrumental than anything else.
Thank you, Ms. House. Principal Nunes, you want to add to that?
Yes, you
Follow-up
spoke.
questions as well.
Yes, you spoke specifically what we did. The district, the district has done a great job and echoing what we needed to do to be successful. But at the end of the day, the work is done on the campus. They can give you the tools and tell you the information, but you have to implement it to fidelity and make sure that you're inspecting what you inspect. So we did have the crucial conversations with the team, with the students, but it was all guided so that we ensure that the students were successful. And that's why I go back to that quote with Fisher and Frey, that everything is done by design for the success of our students. And it's like a ripple effect. You throw the rock in the pond of the water and you don't see it hit the bottom, but what you don't realize is the impact that it has going across the ripple. And we're the ripple, so we try to make an impact in all that we do here at Molina. And I hope it answers your question.
Absolutely amazing. We still have more questions in the chat. Let me see if we can get to that. And I did pose one. Give us a thumbs up reaction on this comment if you have your seniors who are not TSI Met already enrolled in college prep courses. So we want to hear from our campus principals on that one. But here's another one that we have, and I wanted to actually ask this question. I see it's also in the chat about when you talked about moving specific teachers to courses where seniors needed to continue to take these courses to get ready second semester. In the chat, we have a question that says, mechanically, where are you putting teachers and students in each grade for maximizing TSI testing success?
We're starting at the 9th grade now. So students are hearing that conversation, not just the BTech, so they're taking dual credit. We're making sure that all our students are aware of that. And the real work for the teachers is done in the PLC process. You have to make sure that you're building strong PLCs and that they're all speaking the same language. Like it says at the bottom of the quote, don't talk about it, be about it. At the end of the day, we have checkers that are going in place. I don't have the paper on me, but we have data trackers. So every 3 weeks, we're looking at the data, whether it's the reading, the writing, the core areas of the STAR tested area. And we're making sure that we're implementing it to fidelity because, at the end of the day, if you're teaching students to critically think and write, they're going to be successful on this TSIA, and they're going to do well on the SAT and ACT. The ultimate to go is to get our students to pass the SAT and SAT with a qualifying score that gets them into almost any university in the country that they want. But we have to build that culture here, and it starts with our teachers in the PLC process.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you. A follow-up question to that is, how are you training your teachers? How are you getting them engaged and understanding the why?
Perfect. Well, a big thing what we did is, we have an AI incorporated here with All-in Learning. So what we did is when we got those constructed writing responses back, we made sure that the students, not only the students, but the teachers were able to write a paragraph of what we thought, and then we had them score it so they could see how well they did. And now we'd be like, well, are you TSI ready? So it's putting this teacher into the shoes of a student. And then on top of that, you have to ask yourself, now imagine if that student is an emerging bilingual, or if they're a special needs student, or if they have just problems taking tests. Now you add all that into that, then you have to really understand the student. And what I try to live here is that with the same grace that you give your students is the same grace that you'll be given. So you have to make sure that the students understand that you truly care about their success. So it's in the PLC process. A lot of the PD is rolled out through there and implemented throughout. And then we as administrators, we walk and we make sure that we're watching this PD in action, because there's nothing like delivering professional development to your staff and then you walk by and they're not actually doing what you've done. So we want to make sure that our teachers are held to a higher standard in doing what we ask them to do, and that they're owning it.
Wonderful.
I can't see the questions. I'm sorry, and I'm scared.
I got you. Another question. Did you test all juniors in May and October that qualify, no TSI met for the subject? Or did you test only the juniors currently enrolled in certain courses?
Ms. Coyce, take it away.
Our juniors enrolled in English 3 and Algebra 2 get to take TSI, but only in the spring in May. Our seniors, all of them, of course, get to take it in October, and they get a second opportunity in April. However, one of the key things that I've been trying to do, and I was telling Mr. Nunez here recently, we have a really good feeder pattern, Stockard Middle School. And those kids are so amazing in algebra. It's a must see. They are really, really good over there. And so that's how we didn't want them to lose any ground between Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, so that they can be ready for PSAT by their 10th grade year. Because again, our strongest teachers are the Algebra 2 teachers here on our campus. So trying to get them started early, and if we could bridge them like we do the PTEX, then we can go ahead and get a lot of our students met coming out of middle school. But our juniors, no, they're not in any particular classes. They're just in English 3 and they're in Algebra 2. But we do have a supplement through the district. It's called Edgenuity. So our students can use that as a supplemental tool.
Wonderful. And thank you for bringing that up. I wanted to dig deeper a little bit in the academic preparation that you utilize prior to taking the TSI. And there's a question in the chat from WHA Rodriguez. Was there a specific curriculum used for math and ELA to target TSI readiness? So talk to us a little bit about your academic preparation. I do know you have a testing coordinator, Ms. Vick, on your campus, but what's the actual academic preparation that you all do on your campus before the test?
So I'm sorry, Mr. Nunez, or you're about to go, Mr. Nunez?
You go right ahead, Ms. Coyce.
Okay, wherever there's a gap, we have to fill it. And we recognize where talent lies on our campus. Our reconnection teacher is a dual credit credential math teacher, and she's one of those quote unquote old school teachers. So last year we went through our science classes, the non-AP science classes, so aquatics and anatomy and physiology. And she said, so we use those groups of students because they're not med in math. And she already knows how TSI is designed. She said, Ms. Coyce, I just need calculator. No, she said, I need pencils and paper, no calculators. So literally, she's helping our students, on Saturdays. She's coming. So she's just one of those people that's been here for a while, not really on our staff, but here. And then she's been helping with our math. With our English, the teachers just kind of recognize that it is different than STAR. And it really is. It was little small conversations. Hey, how did you write your essay? And the kids got to the point where they were saying, you know what, when that test kept going, I knew I failed it. So they know how it's designed. And that's with anything, like taking the MCAT. If you know how the test is designed, you have a better chance at being successful at it.
That's wonderful. Principal Nunez, do you have anything to follow up with that, or?
No, I think it's playing our faculty's strength, knowing where they're strong at. And a lot of people just want to help and they want to be heard. So I think it's knowing your staff, knowing where they can help and how we can all, if you remember the quote where you had the crew on there and they were rowing, it's not just the administration and the team that was doing TSI. It's the entire faculty. We look like Noah's Ark, all rowing. So it's kind of like that. We're all rowing in the same direction and we have the same mission and vision in mind so that our kids are successful.
Wonderful. There's a follow-up question in our chat from Ms. Course, and then after that, I want to shift a little bit to your progress monitoring. You've been mentioning the tracker and how you're tracking students, so I want to get to that. But first, let me get the follow-up question for Ms. Course. It says, did the ninth graders that completed Algebra 1 in eighth grade, did they have a high success rate with the math test?
That is the one class I have not looked at yet. So I recognize that there are accelerated students, right? So I have not built my tracker for them to let the math teachers know, hey, this kid needs this equivalent SAT score. They have the data that says, okay, this is what they need to make, but they don't have the list of kids. So my goal is to take a sample group of students from the ninth grade class after this first semester and look at their math and see where they are and schedule to go over to Mountain View to test those kids. Especially if they're successful on the first semester ACP for Algebra 2. I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm always looking, I'm a scientist by nature, so I'm always looking at test groups of students and what's making them successful versus others. But no, we haven't tested those kids on SAT or TSI. Ninth graders don't get to take those exams.
Got you.
Did I answer
Few
your
more
question?
questions are coming in. I want to get this, and then I promise I'm going to get to that tracker. Questions about the courses that you're using in Ingenuity. Are you testing for SAT or TSI-2? And what that success rate looks like.
Our seniors in AQR use Ingenuity. Right now, we're one teacher short. So I can't say what that success rate is going to look like for the seniors, but most of the students who are in AQR are in the college prep class. And our goal now is to make sure that those kids are moving and paying attention in those classes. So we're in, and I'm an administrator, and I'm in and out of the college prep classes, even though they're English. So I can't say the success of Edgenuity, but it is a good tool for our students to practice on.
Do you feel the majority of your TSI success has translated to SAT and ACT being that indicator that gets you the TSI, or is it the actual TSI-2 exam?
We'll get back to you in May. We'll get back to you in May when that comes back out. We played the on that.
Actually, a lot of our students are met via SAT.
Okay.
For one of that's how we're getting met in one or the other. They're meeting it their junior year for SAT, and we're having to come back and try to clean that up on the other end with TSI.
Gotcha. Wonderful. So yeah, that was a question that was in the chat, which kind of also leads us to the tracker. You talked about, keeping up with the students and the progress monitoring. And Ms. Course, you said, I looked through all these transcripts, and now you're having to look through, did they meet in SAT or ACT? Do they need one test or the other for the TSI-2? Talk to us about your progress monitoring and working with your leadership team. I know you guys engage in a meeting with your CCMR leadership team and your leaders on your campus. What does progress monitoring look like at Molina High School?
So this summer, the testing coordinator, Miss Vic, we love her dearly. She was like, hey, I'm working on the TSI tracker. We know where our seniors are right now. And she does this not just for TSI. She's tracking every kid for TEL Pass. Have they taken it? What level are they on? So she manages every test in the building. But for these seniors particularly, she only had met or not met. And I said, Vic, what do you mean met? And it's like, I need to know if they're met in SAT. I need to know if they're met with TSI. So it's all color coded. And I need to know if they're close. Because you can't tell me, oh, well, that kid was close, but what do you mean by close? So we've even narrowed it down to the students who are met or not met in either one of the categories, or if they're approaches. So we're looking at the kids who are at approaches. We have right now, our TSI is at 17% met in both. We are way behind target, and my target has been very clear for Mr. Nunez this year. But 82 of those students only need English. 86 of them only need math. if we can get those students to be successful by October through the Texas College Bridge, because now they've gotten the rehearsal, if you will, we'll be at 42% by then. Now is, where do we go and looking at those scores with the other students that are remaining?
And that's where being strategic the second half, pullouts, tutoring, being intentional with what they need to be successful. If they just need a portion of math after the second semester, then we want to make sure that we really make sure we hammer down on that so that they're successful. Because at the end of the day, we want them to go to college and we want them to get there. And now we started a thing here with our executive director, Salem Hussein, is we want to track our students up to the second year of college. So since we do have Dallas College across the street, we want to be able to get those students enrolled in a college class because, once they get in a college class, we know that they have 2 years to get into that before they have to take the TSI again. We want them to enroll right away so that that clock never expires for them and that they're always eligible to take college level courses. So that's something that we're gearing towards here. It's kind of a new initiative, but I'm excited to do the work and set that so that we can track the students even after they graduate.
We have about 15 minutes left, so I want to make sure that we're getting a little bit to our TSI toolkit that we have available for you. But also I posed another question in the chat for you all. How important is it for you to have a progress monitoring tool so that you can see student level data in real time and know each student's status for TSI readiness? So give me a little bit of feedback on that if you can in the chat. I see we still have a large group that's here, but I also want to share a little bit more about the TSI toolkit that we're going to be sharing with you all. And we're going to make sure that we have this available to you on our website, as well as sharing it out via email. We'll make sure you have this as well as a copy of the video that we put together from Molina High School. So right here, we have our TSI toolkit. We began with making sure that everyone has a look at the A through F accountability and understanding the difference between CCMR accountability and what that looks like for our House Bill 3 outcomes bonus funding, which is really important to each of you. We have our College Readiness Village. This talks about who all is involved. As Principal Nunez talked about, it takes everyone on the campus and it takes a community. It takes our external partners. We're looking at our teachers, our parents, our school support, and also Dallas College and our other four-year universities working together, surrounding our students to make sure that this can work. So who leads this work on your campus? We wanted to kind of share with you just differences in the scope of work. And you may organize this on your campus differently, and that's okay. But if you don't have a plan of action of how you can lead this work on your campus, I encourage you to have your CCMR district level meetings and have the staff included that you see here on the screen as a minimum, and then taking a look at how everyone feeds into this work. Here is a year at a glance with the TSI MET indicators. And then attached is the months of taking a look at what this looks like for quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's a roadmap that is included in this toolkit for you, breaking that down into each quarter and each month. There's October through December, January through March, April through June. And really, we're going to make sure that you have access to this as well. Like I said, we will put this on our website and make sure that we share this out with you. Looking at the TSI assessment overview of what is the TSIE2? I know a lot of times you get some questions from board members and from parents that really want to understand what this is and why it's so important to the schools and to our students. This gives you kind of a one-pager of what you can share out if you like to any of your constituents and your stakeholders, and just some recommendations to keep in consideration. Here is a slide on SAT and ACT assessment and what it is and some recommendations for that. And we've been talking about the college prep courses, Texas College Bridge, just a short overview here of Texas College Bridge. And following this, we have an appendix of some more resources that you can definitely take a look at and just what to expect. So I want to focus back in on some questions that we're getting in the chat. There's a question about a progress monitoring tool is vital if we want to provide the best options for our students to be successful. Thank you, Principal Salinas. Thank you, Hilda Salinas. And Coleman from Garland ISD. Yes, this presentation will be shared with you along with the toolkit, along with the video that was made featuring Principal Nunez at his campus, and how well they're working towards economic mobility for their students. I also want to make sure that you join us for our next alignment council. We're bringing together middle school, K-12, higher ed, our partners, our workforce development team, all coming together at our next alignment council on October the 10th. If you have not registered for that, definitely send us a message, put it in the chat that you need a link to register for that. We've been sending that out to you all. We want you to join us live and in person on October the 10th. We'll keep this chat open for you. If you have any further questions for myself or my team, if you want to have any further questions with Principal Nunez or know how to get in contact with him or Ms. Course, we'll definitely be sharing that. We'll keep the Zoom open for you for another few minutes. But we want to thank you all for joining us. I know you could have been many other places. You have so many competing things that are happening on your campuses, in your office, in your district, and in your community. But we thank you for joining us for our virtual learning series. And we'll be back with more virtual learning coming right up. Next up, our Alignment Council on October the 10th. Thank you so much for joining us today.